Well, welcome back. Welcome back, it's Izen here. We took a couple of days of a break, but now it's time to talk about something else once again. We have some new additions to 9.2 that are worth exploring. We have to start first. Before we go to the less important news and changes, we have to talk about the balance tuning that happens in 9.2, since it is the more important of the changes. This time around, it's gonna be about Restoration Druid first, because we started 9.2 when the tier sets were being released, and over time we have gotten quite a few of the classes or the specs to receive some of the changes for these tier sets. We have seen that Death Knight has gotten its tier set changed, except for Blood, who is going to get them changed soon. We also got Demon Hunter to get both of their specs changed in tier sets. We also had Mage with Arcane and Frost getting its tier set changed. Fire was not touched because Fire was strong already. We also got Monk having its tier set changed. Rogues have gotten their tier set changed. We had Warrior. All three specs got their tier set modified. We had also Enhancement. Restoration Shaman got it changed. So over time we have went on to touch most of the classes. Some specs have been left out, however. We have still not gotten any changes yet to Warlocks. Warlock was one of the premier classes that got very powerful tier sets on all three specs, and so far they haven't really been touched. We have also gotten no changes so far for Elemental Shaman. We have gotten no changes to Holy and to Discipline Priest. The entirety of Paladin, another one of the classes that received some quite powerful tier set changes, is still untouched. And we also had Druid up to this point. We had a slight modification to the Feral Druid tier set, the 4-piece, but beyond that, the main change for Druid was the nerf to the Ventir ability, to Sinful Hysteria getting nerfed, so primarily a nerf for Balanced Druid. So with this change to Restoration Druid, we go and touch another one of the specs that wasn't given much of any focus after the initial release of the tier sets. So it's we can say it's somewhat of a bittersweet set of changes for Restoration, because the initial tier set released for Resto was that Swiftmend was healing for a little bit more for each periodic healing effect on the target, and then the 4-piece set bonus was that Swiftmend was healing 4 nearby allies for 25% of its healing done. This was particularly bad in raid encounters where you don't use Swiftmend as much, and even in Mythic Plus it wasn't as useful, particularly the 4-piece. Splashing some healing to other targets, it wasn't even as good. So Blizzard went on to change it and reverted it back to making it a more hot-based tier set, which is essentially what Restoration Druid is all about. The 2-piece set bonus is now going to be healing from Rejuvenation, as a 25% chance to grant Renewing Bloom, healing for 356 over 8 seconds, and Swiftmend can consume this Renewing Bloom. Now, the heal over time itself is of course terrible, but that is not what you're going for as a Resto Druid. This is good because of your mastery as a Resto Druid. Your Harmony mastery is going to increase your healing per every restoration heal over time effect on the target. So this is what you want this 2-piece set bonus for, to create an additional hot so that your mastery is going to work even more. And then you have the minor extra that Swiftmend is not going to consume your Life Bloom, is not going to consume your Rejuvenation or your Regrowth. It's just going to consume this very minor hot if you use Swiftmend. The other bonus is the 4-piece, which is that every 3 casts of Swiftmend grants you Incarnation 3 of life for 9 seconds. Which effectively means you're getting 15% more healing inside the Tree of Life. You're also getting stronger Rejuve, stronger Wild Growth, stronger Regrowth, etc. for 9 seconds. Now, considering Swiftmend as a default cooldown of 15 seconds, this basically means you can now get into Tree of Life every 45 seconds for 9 seconds. This is going to be particularly good in 9.2 when you can use 2 legendaries at the same time. Restoration Druids will be Night Fae, which means they will be using Celestial Spirits, which means they will have a 1-minute cooldown to convoke the spirits, and now they have basically a 45-second cooldown Incarnation Tree of Life, which means they will be able to pair it together with Convoke the Spirits. The other minor good thing is that using 2 legendaries allows you in raids to go back to using Visions of Unending Growth, your Rejuvenation Aids legendary. So of course spreading more and more rejuvenations to more targets means your 2-piece set bonus is going to have more and more chances to attach to the target the Renewing Bloom heal over time. I said at the start this was going to be a bittersweet tier set because while being quite powerful in terms of sheer HPS and sheer throughput, this is not still what a Restoration Druid was looking for. So in Mythic Plus this is not nearly as powerful. You won't be needing to blanket your party with rejuvenations at any given time in Mythic Plus, and also the 4-piece set bonus. Swiftmend is something you use much more freely and much more liberally in Mythic Plus. It's not going to be as easy to just bank on 2 Swiftmends waiting for the 3rd cast to get into Tree of Life when you need to, because you need to heal the tank, and as a Resto Druid you're not too apt at single target healing. Swiftmend can give you a pretty big help there, but the main issue is the damage, of course, as usual. The main issue is that other healers in Mythic Plus are going to give to the group much more damage than the Druid can bring, specifically Shaman and Paladin. But with the double legendary, probably even Mistweaver Monk going into full fist weaving is likely going to give even more damage than Druids, and you were kind of hoping that you could have gotten something from the set bonuses to give you more damage in Mythic Plus, but that's not the case for now. And then you have the raid encounter problem, which is damage reduction. It's big, fat cooldown. Restoration Druid already has pretty high HPS. It's already pretty good at what it does, which is consistent high healing. So these 2 set bonuses are going to just make them stronger in what they were already good. The problem is, what they were already good wasn't enough to pass Holy Paladin, to pass Restoration Shaman, or to pass Discipline Priest, because they bring other things that Restoration Druid cannot. So it looks unlikely that even with these 2 new shiny set bonuses, it is actually going to have an effect in the meta, in the hierarchy of healing priority in raid encounters, because of the lack of strong alternatives outside of just high HPS, and in Mythic Plus as well, because of the lack of extra damage. That is why it is sort of a bittersweet tier set so far. Now, outside of this Druid change, we have some new additions to 9.2. First of all, the one that has been announced before and has been revealed already, which is the addition of the Incubus, the male version of the Succubus. So now, in 9.2, your Summon Succubus spell will be gone. It's going to be replaced by Summon Sayad, which is simply going to be a summon spell that is going to either summon the Succubus or the Incubus. You will be able to talk to your Warlock trainer in Stormwind or in Ironforge and buy the Barbed Collar, either the Barbed Collar of the Incubus or the Barbed Collar of the Succubus, to make sure that you always summon the one you want. So, unless you want to coin flip on a 50-50 every single time, you can just choose whichever one you want from the get-go and just summon that one every time. The other addition, welcome addition, a little bit bittersweet because it's still just swords, but it's a continuation on what we saw once Tazavesh was released. Once Tazavesh was released, we got this thing right here, this flensing blade, which was this sort of liquid flame-looking sword, blue-colored. And in 9.2, we are going to get a bunch of rare mobs throughout Zereth Mortis to give you different colorations of this sword. You will be able to hunt the rare for the purple sword, you will be able to hunt the one for the red sword, the one for the green sword, and very likely the one for the yellow sword as well. So if you wanted to go for different colorations of this sword, you're going to have an even easier time, because it's not even going to be limited by a dungeon in 9.2. It's just going to be a bunch of rares. You will be able to camp until you get these swords. As I said, bittersweet because number one, there is no two-handed version, and number two is just swords. So poor underrepresented classes like shamans, for example, or druids won't be able to use these new models at all. Now, on to a few final words regarding this patch, this 9.2 patch, as we enter this Monday, the week of Christmas. So up to this point, we have now seen a lot of things for 9.2 already well into development, which is what I said kind of surprised me how far along the development was. I thought it would have been a little bit further back. At this point, we have seen now all of the chapters of the story on the PTR, all the way up to chapter 7. Basically, the entire story before the raid basically has been revealed and is already out for testing. We have also seen at this point almost all of the bosses up for testing as well. This week we have gotten to see Anduin together with the first boss, the usual traditional meme boss, the Loot Piñata boss, and we have also seen basically the entirety of Zereth Mortis, as well as the systems that are going to be within the zone as a whole. We are still missing the actual rewards from the zone. We are missing the double legendary system, the feature that has not been out yet. We have also been missing the feature of flying, which is not unlocked yet, likely because they want you to test the zone without flying, because that's going to be where you're going to be spending the first couple of weeks in. The tier sets, however, have been out since basically the start. Very early on we have been able to test out the tier sets. What is missing, the more glaring miss at this point, is going to be the Mythic Plus, the new affix of Mythic Plus that has been missing. It's something that was released a little bit late in the PTR of 9.1 as well. It was actually far along the patch as well, so it's not something that is unusual, we could say. We have also seen the new game mode in Torghast, now that Torghast has been stripped of all of the mandatory weekly grind necessary for character power, and it's just now going to be a proper side activity without any type of power needed for you to go into and complete the zone. We have also now gotten a new game mode, the Boss Rush game mode of the Jailer's Gauntlet, which has already been out and testable for a couple of weeks now. So the point I was trying to make is that the patch seems like it is quite far along the development cycle. We have seen all of the major features of the patch, with just one glaring lack of the double legendary usage, which is still just something purely related to balance tuning and nothing else. So all of the other main features, like the storyline, like the entirety of the zone, the raid as well, and even the Mythic Plus version, the double dungeon of Tazavesh, split into two for the Mythic Plus season, it's already there and working. So it does look like it's pretty far along the development. We have said, looking at all of the other previous patches of the past 6 or so years when it comes to the time spent on the PTR, that the average duration of a PTR would put this release date of 9.2 between February the 8th and February the 15th weeks. So I do think it's quite on track given what we have seen so far in the PTR. There isn't really too much left to test for longer than this anyways, so it does look like it's positive up to this point if we're looking at a schedule of release for this patch. So for now, we can stop here, now that we are entering the holiday season, and Blizzard has already pointed out that they are going away as well. They are barely going to touch the game anyways, so there's not going to be too many surprising changes, last minute changes applied this week. So it's likely there's going to be less to report on. So for the time being, as usual, thank you guys for watching the video. If you want to continue supporting the channel, you can leave a like down on the video, you can comment down below as well, and also you can subscribe to the channel, but only, of course, if you have already done buying and packing your Christmas gifts. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, man, we got baited here. It snowed once 2 weeks ago. It's 2 weeks that we get 0 degrees and there are no clouds. There are no clouds for the snow. Please,